Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Kiko Suarez. We're starting this second webinar in the HEIghten series. Today, we're going to talk about the student experience. But before we do that, I wanted to go through a couple of reminders on things that we have discussed last time. First, if you haven't done it yet, please send me your forecast of how many tests you will be administering for the rest of the remaining of the year and next year. That's going to help me better understand the demand. Also, let me tell you a couple of options that you have on how to buy exams. The first one is online with a credit card. If you do have already your username and password for life.territorium.com, that's how you buy online exams. We covered that in the previous webinar. We're not going to do it today. You can watch it or you can email me if you have any doubts. The other way is through purchase orders. This is something that requires a different process, and I will share this with you. I'm just sharing it right now. You don't have to take any notes. I'll share it with whoever wants to, but we will require that you send a purchase order by email to a special email address called buyheighten@territorium.com, indicating very clearly which ones are the modules where you need credits. And then remember that the pricing has been published in our website, in our public website, territorium.com, and it has the same pricing structure that ETS used to have, with some bulk discounts depending on how many exams you order. Within 5 days of receiving the purchase order, we will make sure that you have those credits up in the platform. And then from there on, it's just a matter of administering the same way that we discussed last time. If you do want to do purchase orders, email me directly first, kiko.suarez@territorium.com. That way I know that that is your intention. So without further ado, I'm going to invite again our Chief Technology Officer, Gerardo Saenz, and co-founder of Territorium to guide us through the student experience on the Territorium platform. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and he will start sharing his. Gerardo?
Thank you, Kiku. Good afternoon. Let me start sharing my screen. So today we're going to review the students' experience. And I wanna just go into the following steps we're going to demonstrate here. First is how students enter with a code. This code we review on our last webinar that is related to an administration or a cohort. Then we are going to create an account for this user. Users that have currently a username, they can still use that username they might have used in the past with another HEIghten test, for example. We are going to review if the test is Proctor or not. Then we are going to answer a non-Proctor test. And I will show you also how students enter to a Proctor test, how's the onboarding process. They need to take some photos before starting the test, the Proctor test, and how they launch also the lockdown browser, Respondus lockdown browser. Thing that I cannot show you once I enter the lockdown browser, since this browser, let's say that secures the environment, thus it disables all the different applications that are running in your computer. And that's basically what we're going to see today. So let me start sharing my screen. So users will enter to live.territorium.com. It's the same URL we've been sharing before. And this is the login page. and you can see this enter code label here. So students will click on this label, then they will need to enter the code that is related to the cohort or administration. So I have here this code already related to this non-Proctor test. So they can log in with their username and password, or they can create a new account. So I'll create a new one. I'll type my name here. Test. I'll enter my email address. I created one for this occasion. I'll enter my password. So once I have all these attributes in place, my name, my last name, my email, and my password, I'll click on create. So I now entering to the main or the home page of the platform. As you can see, I have this non-Proctor test, quantitative literacy, sorry. So students will click on this quantitative literacy test. You have some instructions here. There are the HEIghten outcome assessments instructions, how to answer this test. And as you can see, they can also see which is the start date and the due date for this test. And at the end, you can also see that this is not an AI Proctor test. It consists of two forms, which is the survey and the quantitative literacy test. So once the student is ready, they'll click on the start button. So now this was a survey I created just as an example. In the last webinar, we saw how to create new surveys. So I'll start answering. As you can see, surveys can also have time, and let's say each question is separated. You can go and navigate through each question through this next and previous buttons, and also you can click on each on each number of each question. And once the student has finished the survey, they'll click on finished. This is just a confirm question, let's say it like that. And I'll click and I'm sure I want to submit. So once I finish my survey, I'll go directly into the quantitative literacy test. As you can see, each test consists of different type of questions with images, with different elements within the test. This highlight button is used in case the student says, okay, so this question is very difficult. I'll just highlight it to get back to it. It's just like a support feature for students in case they need to get back to a specific question. So students will continue to answer each question. And at the end, well, let me just put here something. At the end, they can finish the test with questions left. That's something possible, but they are alerted in case they have answers left. So I'll submit and continue. And once I finished, the students will see this status completed, and also if they get back to their homepage, they will see this test is also completed. So this is how students answer a test. I'm now entering to a Proctor test to see the differences. Let me log out. I'm doing the same first steps. I'll enter my code. This is a new code with a Proctor test. I'll create a new account. Well, let me, instead of creating a new account, I'm using the previously created user. So now with my username and password, I can log in, and as you can see, I have a new test, which is which is a Proctor test, a Proctor test. The main differences is basically, you can see it's a proctored, and it explains me the following. Since this test is AI Proctor, you'll need to take a photo of your face and of your ID. Please follow the instructions once you click on the following button. So this photo process is just asked once, so they can take multiple Proctor tests, but this photo process will only be asked the first time they take a Proctor test. So there's a series of instructions here, basically telling the student how to take the photo of his face or her face. I'll click on next. You can see I have my webcam on. I'll take a photo of my face. There you go. I'll continue with the process. Now it tells me to take a photo of my ID. So they can upload one or just focus the ID on the camera. Then I can review my photos. I can take new pictures, or I can continue with the process. Once I continue, it tells me the validation was successful. It is validated through AI. Faces most match my face, my initial face, and the face that is in my ID. And once I'm ready, I'll click on finish. So now there are some instructions to download the Lockdown browser. So this test, as it is proctored, should be taken inside Lockdown browser. They have both links to download Lockdown browser version for Windows and for Mac. And once it is installed in their computers, they'll need to click on the start button, and it will automatically launch the Lockdown browser, and it will launch it directly into the test. That test looks the same as the non-Proctor test. The big difference is that you have the student can see himself through the webcam, and the AI is looking for anomalies if the student is not himself, or if he is accompanied, or if there's some suspicious objects on the showing the webcam. And so that's basically the differences. And obviously it is taken on a secure environment, and while they are taking the test, they cannot open any applications, they cannot do copy paste, they cannot take screenshots, And so that's one of the main differences of a proctor and non-proctor. And obviously the anomalies and the suspicious activities that is tracked and is registered on the admin side, so that human proctors can take a decision and in that case suspend or block a student's test also. We will see this from a proctor perspective next webinar. And this is basically the student's experience of taking a test. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo. Just what I'm going to do is I'm going to take back the screen, go back here, and then I'm going to ask the audience if they have any questions. Let me just do a little recap on what you just explained. So students will have a code for every HEIghten cohort or administration that they have been assigned to, and they will use that code to take that particular test. They can be assigned to multiple, in which case they will get several codes. But once they are in there, they have to create a username and password once. And once they have the username in the system, they will be able to use that same username for as many times as needed with that institution, whether it's in this year, in the next cohort, or even in future years. The important thing of this demonstration was also the fact that you can take proctored or non-proctored tests. And this whole idea, if the people in the audience are not familiar with proctoring, remote proctoring, our product, as Gerardo mentioned, we will cover that in a couple of seminars from now. Next seminar will be about reporting, but in a couple of seminars from now, we will definitely cover everything that has to do with using that tool from the administration proctor perspective. And you will find a lot of things in there. But from the student experience perspective, if you choose to proctor a HEIghten test, what you need to remember is that the environment changes to secure it, so they cannot do things that are like cheating or copying or taking pictures or anything like that. And that's why we use those words. Lockdown browser is a standard in the industry. And we will make sure that all those instructions that we are writing down will also cover the proctor versus the unproctor part. So with that, I don't know if there are any questions. You can put them in the chat, or you can actually start asking. So there's a question here that says, is there a problem having a student take the same module more than once in this system? For example, a freshman and a senior.
Yeah, no, there's no problem. They can take multiple times the same test. In this case, as I can see, there should be two different cohorts or administrations. But they can take multiple times the same test.
Has there been a problem with the photo ID and ID managing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously there's like, and we have it like statistically, we have, well, let's say in big administrations, let's talk about 30,000 students taking the test or having this photo and ID process. Just about 3% of this population end up with problems. So what we did, and this is also applies to HEIghten test, is that if at the third time, there's no validation, successful validation. There's not a successful validation. They can ask for a manual validation process. So this manual validation process can be reviewed by a human, and the human will see the both photos, the photo of the face and the photo of the ID, and a human can then decide if it's approved or not. But we are talking about a very small percentage of students that should have that kind of problems.
Yeah,
and it's all in the administration side.
Yeah, and I just want to add that we Territorium is incorporating this technology that has been tested in other types of tests worldwide, and we are running like millions of tests every year. So what we did with HEIghten is we integrated our remote proctoring technology into the platform, so it will be easier for you to choose whether you go proctor or unproctored. But this is a technology that we've tested for many years in millions of exams.
Yeah.
There are two. I'm gonna start with Neneka's question. Following up with a question from the last session, how can we change our password for Territorium?
Okay, so yeah, I think can you send me your email, please? Because since you are a root user, we need to follow some steps with you. But can you please put your email in the chat, and we will help you.
I know her email, so well, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. All right, we're going to move to the next question, and it says, does the system not collect demographic information anymore? Do we have to build this ourselves in the survey?
So, yeah, well, we thought about the survey as a way to collect not just demographic, but any kind of additional information. We do not collect it from the beginning or from the let's say the registration form or the sign up form, but the survey definitely can be used for that.
Yeah, and I'm going to clarify that what the decision we made was to allow every institution to put whatever questions they felt more compelling or more interesting for each one of them, rather than having a standard demographic survey. But yeah, you have to build it, and if there's any question on how to do it, we'll be happy to help. There is another question on the chat. We have required students to provide their student ID numbers as part of the login process. Is this still possible?
We can think about a workaround there. We do not need it for sign-up process, but I do believe it's a very important attribute for you. So we can add an additional field in the sign-up form. This can be done in a very short period of time.
Okay. There's another question. If the students are taking the test in a campus computer lab, can the school download the lockdown browser onto the computers beforehand, so it's possible to have Proctor Test over there instead of from home?
Yeah, sure. We can share you the download links beforehand, and I can put it. There are public links. Let me copy I will paste it here in the chat, but I think we can also share it with you in an email. Windows. And I will also make sure these links are in the website. And this is Mac. There you go.
And so just to confirm that, Gerardo, before we move to the next question, these are standard lockdown browsers that many institutions already use. Is that correct?
This is the lockdown browser is manufactured by Respondus company. It's a very known brand in the educational industry. You may know it also, most of you. So it's a very standardized browser in this case, in talking about education.
Okay, there's a question from Josh that's asking for a set of brief instructions that we can share with students to help them get started. Yeah, we're working on that, Josh. So we will make sure that we have like a small written manual for users and also for administrators. So you will get there shortly. There's a question from Robin there. As I understand this, students will no longer download the ETS browser for the test.
Nope. The new browser is the Respondus lockdown browser. And I can also paste here more information about this browser. And I think it's the best browser in the market. So we are partners, Respondus and us, and they help us specifically with this secure environment. The rest of the technology is ours. The AI proctoring, the test taking, the management. We just partner with Respondus for the browser specifically.
Yeah, and as you look for that information, Gerardo, I just want to share with the group that I had a few conversations already with institutions, and the majority of the ones that use lockdown browsers use the Respondus browser. So it's kind of a well-known solution for this kind of issue.
Great.
Any other questions? All right, so what I will do is
You're muted.
Thank you, Gerardo. I'm sharing with you what's coming up December 2nd at 2 p.m. same time. We're going to talk about scores and reporting. And then a week after that, we're going to talk about remote proctoring, which is what Gerardo was mentioning now. And we will show you how to use it, not only for HEIghten, but for any other tests if you may want to set them up that way. And then the last one that we have planned on December 16th is we're going to show you the entire ecosystem, from the comprehensive learner record that's available to you if you want to activate that option, to the digital wallets and the remote proctoring, again, more kind of a comprehensive view. With that, just a reminder that I will be your contact going forward. If you need anything, the team is here, and I'm your single point of contact for the activation of any requests you have. With that, thank you, Gerardo, once again, and we'll see you in the next webinar.